Reading a defense is the most fundamental skill in Madden 26. You want to have the answers to the test before you even snap the ball. And that's why in this video, I'm giving you those answers. I'm breaking down how to read all 5 major coverages here in Madden 26 so you never have to guess again. Let's jump right into it. Alright, a lot of players struggle reading cover 0, but there's an easy tell that gives it away. Alright, so before we jump into coverage 0, there's a coverage shell adjustment, okay? When someone flicks the right stick on defense, they're actually able to change, the coverage and what it looks like for you. So, while reading coverage is very important, just understand that people can still disguise coverages, but we've moved beyond that here because I'm going to break down how you can, kind of make your reads foolproof, okay? What you need to understand is that cover 0, typically, look at where the line of scrimmage is, okay? It's at the 30. These safeties are typically going to be 10 yards or closer to the line of scrimmage, and that's not going to be the case out of a lot of other defenses, okay? So you can see that they're 10 yards off right here. And then another easy tell that would tell me that this cover 0 is the alignment of this defender right here. You can kind of see how he's preparing. At least to me, it looks like he's going to be preparing to play man coverage, okay? So that's what I'm looking for first, and it's going to depend on the formation that you're running, okay? Is the tells that you're going to get, but these are just some universal basic tells, okay? You would never see an outside corner in zone coverage be this far inside, okay? Even if they shaded inside, right? How these guys now jump inside. If they want to shade outside, disguise a little bit. Look, these outside corners are never going to be against a formation like this. They're never going to be this far inside, okay? And as far as reading the coverage, that's important too, but clearly you also have to beat it, okay? So some good route combinations against a cover 0, corner out, zig, a drag, crosser, right? We go ahead, again, you got to understand also against cover 0 that you have to get rid of the ball on time, okay? Normally that means that they're going to be blitzing a lot, and so again, you have to be prepared to get rid of the ball, on time. Sometimes they're going to blitz 5 people out of cover 0. Sometimes they're going to blitz an extra defender, 6 people, but again, the principle remains the same. You can see how, you call that corner out. I mean, I've never seen a receiver more wide open in a game. And so that's really cover 0. Cover 0 is just about the simplest defense. Sometimes you're also going to get these guys to come down a little bit further. They might, man a line. A lot of people, they give away their cover 0 by moving a guy over because you see by default he comes out over here, but when you move him over, now he's standing right here, okay? So that's another, tell. They don't want to play man coverage when they're not aligned properly. That just makes sense. They don't want to cross man guys because then it becomes a lot easier, for you to take advantage of certain things that they're doing on defense, okay? So really against cover 0, number 1, read the safeties. Where are they? Are they under 10 yards? That's a very good giveaway of cover 0. But secondly, just look at these outside corners. If they're this far inside, this is a very good tell that they're in man coverage. And then you have to just distinguish, is it cover 0 or is it the next defense we're going to talk about, cover 1? All right, cover 1 can be a tough defense to break down, but I'm going to show you exactly how to read it. Okay, so cover 1 can look just like cover 0 in a lot of cases, and that's honestly what people try to do the most. They try to show you cover 0 to make you antsy, but if they're gonna, run cover 1, which I would say cover 1's the least frequent coverage I've seen out of all of these that I'm gonna show you in this video, because I just don't think it's that good. A lot of people, if they're gonna be playing man coverage, they're either gonna be playing cover 2 man, or they're just gonna be blitzing you. Not a lot of people want to just sit in, because you can see this is a 4-down lineman rush, but they're in man coverage. This is very easy to attack, but it's just as far as reading it, okay. The reason why I say this is a little bit tougher, sometimes it's a bit easier. Look at these safeties now. This is still man coverage, but these guys are so much further back. Again, coverage shells can kind of change some of these things, right? But look at just borderline. Look at where these safeties are. Balls at the 30. They're now at around the 15. So they're about 4 or 5 yards back from where they were in cover 0. If you go back and watch that part of the video, okay? You're still getting the same man coverage tell. I would say that this is an even more obvious man coverage tell because of where this slot corner is now aligned. You can see how he's lined up right over the top of this guy. There's no way, here's the thing. People can line up in these man coverage looks and drop guys into zone coverage, but you're still preparing for a base cover one defense shell, okay? You can also see how this outside corner where he's lined up, and so that kind of gives you a good tell that they're going to be in man coverage. And then you're going to look at obviously the safeties to tell you that this is not cover 0, so it's either going to be cover 2 man or it's going to be cover 1, okay? And the main way that you can distinguish that it's cover 1 is that this defender right here, instead of cover 2 man, they're going to be right on top of your guys, right? They're going to be pressing your guys, trying to press your guys into the dirt. Cover 1, they're going to show that more of this random look. And then obviously pressing kind of changes a little bit of what they're trying to do. But for the most part, that's how I would read cover 1. And again, I don't like cover 1. If I ran, you guys know I run zone coverage, but if I ran cover 1, I would never run this version of man coverage. I would never run cover 1. Because, I mean, you can just, now I just have all day in the pocket. And although they're able to play good man coverage at times, just look at that. I have all day. That route was caged, but since the quarterback now has all day in the pocket, well, now you can just do whatever you want. You can take all day, take your pretty time, and boom. You can see if they're going to press your guys, now you can see how this is a lot more obvious that this is going to be cover 1. You can still see where those safeties are. A key component of beating cover 1 is understanding where that robber defender is though, okay? A lot of the time you're going to have a hole defender or robber trying to take away the middle of the field. So what you don't want to do is call route combinations where you have a backside dig. For example, you step up in the pocket and now you can see how that robber defender is sitting pretty much right in the area of where that zone is, okay? I've thrown a lot of good players have thrown a lot of picks to this defender, the 3-rec hook. It's a tough zone. He plays pretty well, but you can also see how you just have your drag wide open against cover 0 just because, cover 1, because they're in man coverage. It's not that good. There's a lot of picking, bumping that goes along in man coverage, and so you're able to take advantage of that. But reading cover 1, again, reading those safeties, they're a little bit further back than cover 0. Reading those corners, they're a lot more inside than if they're in their traditional zone coverage look. All right, reading cover 2 versus cover 4, which we're going to talk about later, is probably the most difficult thing to do. And that's why today's video sponsor, Rush MVP, makes it so easy. And you might be asking yourself, what is Rush MVP? And the simple answer is it's a AI-powered strategy app that helps you read defenses, okay? You're struggling right now to distinguish cover 2 versus cover 4, but Rush MVP does it perfectly. Let me show you. All right, so all you have to do is go onto your phone and you're going to download the Rush MVP app on the App Store, okay? It will be in the pinned comment, it will be in the description, it's even on the screen, okay? It's very easy to find. I have it on my phone right here. And all you have to do is input your Twitch, okay? So you have to live stream either on an Elgato or off of your console onto Twitch, okay? And so that's really the setup, and it really is that easy. But now you can do this. Is clearly gonna work in a real game. I'm just gonna show you here in practice mode. But you just have to make sure that you don't have any delay. Any stream delay, you cannot have that turned on here. But what you're going to see is you're going to just walk up to the line of scrimmage. Okay, you want to do this, no motions of play. Make sure you do this after all the motions and all that stuff. No shifts, none of that, okay? You want to just press scan coverage on your mobile device. And once you hit that scan coverage button, you're going to see a pop-up of, what the coverage is probably, and then it's going to say underneath of it, an example of, another coverage that it could be, okay? So why this is so valuable is because it's going to give you all the possibilities now. It's also going to give you, read suggestions, play call suggestions, right? So if you see a cover 3 we're talking about cover 2 here. So if you see a cover 2 defense, normally, you're going to be looking to attack up the sideline, right? Against a bunch formation, or when you're in a bunch formation, a great way to do that is obviously a flood concept, okay? Rush MVP, this is so valuable when you're in a real game, okay? Because you're going to see what your opponent's in, what they could possibly be, and it's going to give you great route combinations to beat it. And then it's also going to give you a lot of other tools that can help you beat the coverage, okay? I would have never been able to beat some of the top pro players if I wasn't using Rush MVP, because I just get essentially a cheat code right at the line of scrimmage as to exactly what coverage they're in. Right, and the great thing about Rush MVP is you can try it out in the pinned comment down below, for free, and you're gonna get 50 coverage generations for free, and it's going to absolutely transform your offensive game. I never, like I said, would have been able to beat some of the top pro players and competitive guys if I wasn't able to read the defense, and you are too. All right, so when people talk about reading a defense, a lot of time they're talking about a cover 3, but it's not as easy as you think. Let me show you. All right, so we're gonna come in here. They're gonna be in cover 3 sky, okay? Now, what I want you to think about is that people know the basic cover 3 tell, right? Oh, I see one high safety sitting in the middle of the field. Oh, boom, I know they're in zone coverage because of some of the other alignments. Cover 3. We all know about cover 3 beaters, over the top, one play touchdowns, deep crossers. Nobody sits in this defense, okay? If you're playing against someone who will run a cover 3 and sit in this version, they're an idiot. They don't know what they're doing, because first of all, if they have their safeties this far back, I mean, you can just look up the seam all day long. Boom, possession, catch that pass, right? You can look up the seam against cover 3, but no one, like, this was a coverage that was popular early in the year where people didn't have their safety depth on close. They wanted to sit in one high safety looks and zone coverage, okay? So this is the obvious cover 3 tell, right? We all know about it. One high safety. Then you try to, throw crossers, slot fades, double slot fades, all of that nonsense. The flood concept. You can attack cover 3 in every which way. Okay, it's so easy, and that's why nobody runs this version of cover 3. Okay, the version of cover 3 that you're gonna see is going to be, this, where they're still gonna show you too high. People want to show too high looks almost every play, okay? They want to, because it looks like cover 2, it looks like cover 4, it can look like cover 1, especially cover 1 robber. It can look like, did I mention cover 4? So it can, and it obviously looks like cover 3 too. So it looks like a lot of different defenses. Looks like cover 6, too high looks like a lot of different things. And so that's why you're gonna see a lot of that, as far as, where those safeties are lined up. But the main thing that you can kind of distinguish cover 3 defense, okay, you just have to understand where these safeties actually are, okay? Because when they're going to come out, one of them is typically going to be a little bit closer to the line of scrimmage. One of them is going to be a little bit further back. This is how a lot of people are going to run their cover 3, because essentially they want this guy who's coming down in a curl flat, a hard flat, they want him to be closer to the line of scrimmage on the left. This defender right here, okay? They want him to be closer to the line of scrimmage so he can come down and make a play faster. Although he is in a hard flat, so he's gonna be able to come down and make a play pretty early anyway. But as far as just attacking this too high version of cover 3, okay, there's a great way to just do that over the middle of the field. Pass lead that ball down inside. Why does that work? Because it's cover 3. So you have to understand that if you just call a shriek on one side, this defender is responsible for the middle, the inside third. So that really means he's responsible for everything here, from number 6 over to number 31, really. So if you just put a shriek on the field, well, now you're able to attack right down the deep middle of the field. And so this is why a lot of chunk plays happen, okay, against cover 3, because you're able to, this is why I talk about pocket presence all the time, because if you're able to step up in the pocket, it's easy. It's easy against cover 3 because you're able to get over the top of their linebackers, and then you're able to really just split their safeties, okay? You're not really gonna be able to look up the seam, although you can try right there. I'm able to do it, okay? If those hook zone defenders come down, then you wanna look right up the seam. Otherwise, you don't really want to. But you can just see how wide open this middle of the field is. It's almost like they're in cover 2. Just because you're able to attack this middle just by putting this defender in conflict, by having this shriek to run off this deep zone, and then you try to look backside. So cover 3, you're typically going to think about that one high look out of zone coverage, which is true. That is going to be a cover 3 look a lot of the time, but you also have to think about this too high look that people are going to show you, because they don't want to show you obvious cover 3, and then you got to think about how you're going to attack that, which is really just by still looking over the middle of the field. All right, so Rush MVP showed you how to read a cover 2, but BLT, how do I read a cover 4? It's so tough. That's why I'm gonna break it down. All right, so the dreaded cover 4 defense, okay? Really the best way I would say that you want to kind of distinguish cover 2 versus cover 4 is the corners, okay? The safeties, they're gonna show you a lot of the same stuff, but you can see how in cover 2, you can see how it's just so subtle, man. It's so subtle in this game, the movement of the safeties, okay? Look at this. When they're in cover 2, these safeties are going to be at the exact same position. Okay, this is a cover 2, or sometimes it could be a cover 3 look, but you can see how these guys are standing at the same spot. Okay, if I go ahead and reset this play now, you can see how this safety right here, he walked a little bit further down. Again, it's just subtle, so now he's about 2 yards closer to the line of scrimmage than his other safety. This is a cover 4 look. I don't know why really this is the case. This is just how it is, how it's programmed, and I'm just telling you the obvious here. Once you start to understand the principles, okay? Really, and I said I don't know why, but the reason why is because they want to be able to stop the seam on the bunch side a little bit better, and so that's gonna be by having their safety close to the line of scrimmage, okay? So that's gonna be cover 4 safeties, okay? But as far as the corners, you can just see how these guys are standing straight up. Just look at how they're standing. They're not squatted. They're standing almost straight up because they're in a deep zone. They don't need to be sitting down like they're gonna just sit down in a zone, right? They need to be standing straight up so they can get back, okay? You can see now how if I put them in a cover 2, look at how their position changes. They're more sitting down like they're gonna sit in a zone and they're gonna play in that zone. But then when you reset the play, have them in cover 4, they turn their alignment, okay? This really isn't gonna matter who's at corner, who, you know, anything, ratings, nothing. This is how it's programmed, how these guys look. So really against cover 4, as far as beating cover 4 is pretty easy to beat because you can just attack underneath. You just can't really look over the top too often, but you can just see how I step up in the pocket and I'm able to take off, you know, with my quarterback. Sometimes you have, you know, if you want to put a return route on the field, if you want to put a drag, you want to put a deep dig, whatever it is, there's ways to attack it. But when they're in cover 4, these guys are going to be standing a lot more straight up, like number 31 is right here. I mean, this is a very easy cover 4 look because you're always going to be looking at 2 things: the safeties, the corners. They're going to give away the coverage. When, depending on the depth of the safeties, that's how you're going to read the coverage. Sometimes people are going, and the reason why you can't rely on just one of those things is because of coverage shells and safety depth. If people put their safety depth on close, it's really going to look the same on every play. So that's why you have to always read the corners. They're going to give it away also. But for people that don't use safety depth on close, or they have their safety depth on something else, you know, a little bit further back, this is going to be an easy tell. And again, just repeating myself here, as far as, you know, beating cover 4 defenses, it really just comes down to looking underneath, not forcing anything over the top, and you're going to see how you're going to have that corner out. Cover 4 deep zones, outside quarters actually behave a lot like outside thirds, so you're still going to be able to use those flood concepts. But that's how I read cover 4. I'm looking to see the difference in the safety depth, especially if they don't have their depth on close in their coaching adjustments, but I'm always relying on the corner's depth, how they're standing, how they're squatting, whatever they're doing. That's going to be another great indicator of cover 2 versus cover 4. All right, so that's going to do it for reading a defense in Madden 26. Comment down below what questions you have about reading a defense, but the best part about Rush MVP is you can go to the pinned comment below and check it out for free, or you can download in the App Store. I can't wait to see you on the app. Peace.